Welcome, everybody, into the Valley, a Phoenix Suns podcast. I am Ethan Shutt, joined by Ryan Shutt and our boy, Philip P. Russell. Is that right? What's your middle name?
You just said Philip P. Russell. No, it's not, right? My middle name's Michael.
We have
Philip
the same
J.
middle
Fry.
name? We knew that. We knew we had the same middle name.
Yeah, we did.
I just thought that Philip P.
We
sounded
knew
really
that
good,
coming
man.
from the guy who was super far off. But yes, we knew that.
Hey,
Yeah.
I had a 1 in 26 chance, gentlemen. Sometimes you got to shoot your shot. Anyway, though I may be taking losses, the Phoenix Suns are taking some wins as the Phoenix Suns ride. Yeah, you caught that, guys.
That was sexy.
Oh, goodness. A massive win streak that if you pull up the ESPN app or the Bleacher Report app and you go to the Suns schedule, you will see nothing but W's as the Phoenix Suns have continued their massive run. And I want to go ahead and give a premature hat tip to Ryan. Ryan, do you recall a certain prediction you made a few episodes ago?
Listen, I don't want to jump to my just so you know already, but I said we'd be riding a 15-game win streak into the Brooklyn game. And I'm only 3 wins away at this point. And I'm feeling pretty good about all 3 of them, to be honest, except for Bing Bong, the Knicks. You never know what's coming with them.
Here is what I love. We are recording this Monday evening. The Spurs game is yet to be played. There is a chance.
Chalk it up. It's a W.
There is a chance that as this gets released on Tuesday, that the Suns are riding a 1-game losing streak. I sound like a massive idiot, and you look equally as dumb. The good news is that the San Antonio Spurs are, quick record check for the folks at home, 4-11. Oh, can we talk about bad basketball? Yes, Philip, what you got?
You want to know why they're 4-11?
Because they're bad at basketball?
Because their best player's now on the Bulls and is playing out of his mind. Shout out to DeMar DeRozan. Bing bong.
Is now the time to have the conversation that Greg Popovich is a bad coach?
No.
What on earth? You're so dumb.
No, just testing the waters.
No,
just
listen,
see where we're at.
Do you know what that take was?
You
know what that take was? That was a Fox Sports take. I'm going to throw you on a bench with Colin Cowherd and Skip Bayless, and you can talk about
that. Is literally my nightmare. I'm not commenting the rest of the podcast. That's hurtful.
Well,
you actually hurt my feelings.
Don't talk bad about Greg.
I'm going on mute.
All right. Hey, well, look, now that it's just us, Philip. No, I'm just kidding. Yeah. So Spurs are tonight. I'm not going to say chalk, but I'm going to say it's pretty close to chalk. I would be stunned.
I'm actually more worried about the Cavs than I am any of the teams remaining before Brooklyn, to be honest.
You're more worried about the Cavs than you are the Knicks?
Yes.
I'm going to give you 10 seconds to validate that point before I'm going to let Philip eviscerate whatever point you're about to make. Please proceed.
It's just a feeling. I wish I could base it on something. The Cavs have had some really good games.
What a beautiful cop-out. It's just in my heart, man. You can't argue with that.
Can you take it away from me?
Can't argue with heart.
Here's the thing. The Cavs have actually had some pretty good games so far this season. The Cavs game between the Knicks and the Spurs tonight feels just a little bit of a trap if we're looking at the 15-game win streak as a whole. I could see us looking ahead maybe to the Knicks before Brooklyn and Golden State and falling to Cleveland on Wednesday. That's just kind of where I'm at, but we'll see.
To Ryan's credit, both teams are 9-8, so they do have the same record. And both of them are being proudly displayed on Dancing with the Stars, where Iman Shumpert, a Cavs and Knicks vet, is vying for the Golden Ball Trophy. That's definitely not what it's called, but I think it's something similar to that.
It's the Mirror Ball Trophy, you dunce.
I'm scared to fact check that. Philip, going into Cavs Knicks, if we were to look past, not saying that we don't care, but if we look past tonight's game against the Spurs, you scared of the Cavs or Knicks? You scared of a Bing Bong?
Not the Cavs, because Colin Sexton's out and Evan Mobley's out. So here's all I'm going to say about Ryan's take just now. That wasn't a feeling about basketball. That was your IBS acting up. Let's move on.
You don't have to expose me like that, dude.
Dude, I'm so glad this is a YouTube only episode. Can you imagine our first episode with the Bright Side Podcast Network? Ryan outed for IBS.
Ryan poops a lot.
Goodness.
Wow.
No, I think the Cavs are going to be just a bit of a mess. It is worth noting, though, this is a 4-game road trip with tonight in Texas, Wednesday they're in Cleveland, and then at least the back-to-back is New York and Brooklyn. That is nice. I mean, back-to-backs suck, don't get me wrong, and playing the Nets on a second game of a back-to-back is real bad, but at least you're getting to stay a little close to home there. And then looking a little far ahead, they get rewarded by the Warriors, right? So I would say if the Suns manage, oh goodness, I just realized they play the Warriors and then they play the Warriors again 4 nights later. Oof. Goodness. Yep. Well, before we look too far ahead, let's do our jobs. Let's recap the Suns week in review, talking about what has happened since we last recorded. And if you can say a 12-game winning streak is uneventful, I would say this stretch would definitely be a little bit uneventful. The win on Wednesday against the Mavs without Luka, win Friday against the Mavs without Luka, and then a win Sunday against the Nuggets without Jokic or Murray. You feel good because they won, but it's not any win that I think makes you feel better about your team unless you kind of look at the individual parts, which I know we will as we kind of do our more overall recap. But just in terms of the games themselves and how they played out, I mean, the closest margin of victory was 7 points. It was 7, 8, and 29. Anything from the games themselves, not kind of delving into each player, but anything really jump out to you guys at all?
Nothing for me in particular. And I know you said not delving into any one player overall. But after the Suns game, the Michael Porter Jr. news did break about his nerve damage, and that could keep him out the rest of the year, which was a real bummer just for basketball. So that was, to me, kind of my big takeaway was just that's another big loss for the Nuggets. And you hate to hear that somebody who has been injury prone this whole time since entering the league is now battling something like nerve damage. But no, good teams beat the teams that they're supposed to. Those were 3 straight games we should have won, and we did it. So that built my confidence moving forward in this team for sure.
Philip, before I go to you, speaking of injury prone, I did have my monthly reminder that Kristaps Porzingis plays for the Mavs. Yikes, man. How crazy is that? Talk about weird injuries and career paths. Is he a superstar in your mind anymore, Philip? Or a star even? Like, what do you call him now? A tall role player?
Better Boban?
Okay. That was slanderous.
That's mean.
Yeah, Ryan's coming out with the slander tonight. No, he's a good player. I don't know who you would put up in a star category, like star but not a superstar. When I think star, not superstar, I think Devin Booker. And does KP elevate himself to a Devin Booker kind of player? No, I don't think so. I think he's good. I think he's talented. I think Suns fans saw that he has some incredible talent, especially on the offensive end this week, but superstar star, he is not.
Yeah, that was a weird one. Sorry, didn't mean to cut you off there. Thoughts about the week, just in terms of kind of overview?
The only collective that I have was from the game on Sunday against the Nuggets, where I was really impressed with the second unit. I know the Suns lost the second quarter pretty handily by 7, but that was also coming off of an all-world shooting performance in the first quarter. But in the second half, first unit and second unit did a really good job of maintaining that lead that it never got really close in that game, which allowed, right before this road trip, the starters to get a little extra rest. And it's always a feel-good story when you get to empty the end of the bench.
Yeah, I'm glad the week went the way it did, but it was so uneventful. Is that bad to say? Like, I'm glad my team is winning. Like, I'm glad we're watching the Suns win, but it is weird when we kind of come to this point where we record and there's nothing that just jumps out as new. But I think we can talk about some of the highlights, even if they're on a little bit more of the micro level, with our weekly recap. And those are our highs, our lows, and our just so you knows. And if you think that was a one-time thing and that we just happen to repeat it and that eventually it'll go away, you're crazy, because I love it. So our high for the week, Ryan, I'm going to kick it off to you. What you got?
My high is Cameron Johnson, and I apologize if that's somebody else's because he just had a stellar last few games. Ethan, I can tell by the look at you're giving me.
I mean, he's like my child. I mean, you know how much I love him. But go ahead.
But starting November, so going back to the 4th, he had 12 points on the 4th, but then he had 4, 2, 6. But then 4 out of the last 6 games, he's gone double-digit scoring, including last night against Denver, where in 23 minutes, he had 22 points on 9 of 15 shooting. The first time, at least in November, I haven't gone back full season, that he shot more than 10 times, and he went above that to shooting 9 of 15. So it looks like Cameron is finding maybe his offensive rhythm a little bit, which is very much needed. And I'm very excited to see, what comes of this, if this is the elevated offensive game.
You just called him Cameron?
Yeah. We're on a first name basis.
Names. That's like last year when the dude was asking Steph Curry a question and he goes, Wardell. And then ask him the question. That caught me completely off guard. Let me add in my high along with this because it's Cam Johnson adjacent and actually just includes Cam Johnson.
Cameron?
Yeah, him. Yeah, him.
Nah, we can do that.
Cam Johnson paired with Mikal Bridges this past week was unbelievable. Eye test wise, they played really tough defense and got really good shots on the offensive end. In other words, it was just kind of clicking when those two were on the court together. Advanced stats. Are you ready?
I am so ready.
Their 2-man lineup for this week had a net rating of 40.7. That's 40.
Goodness.
0.7. 121 offensive, 80 flat defensive. Now, some people say that was probably a small sample size. They played a bunch together this week, 43 minutes. Almost an entire game in that 2-man lineup was a plus 40 every 100 possessions that they were on the court together. And then the more traditional stats, Cam averaged 12 on 54-43 shooting, and Mikal had 11 on 47 and 35. He wasn't great shooting this week, but Mikal was outstanding on defense. So those two together were great. And maybe my favorite part, there was a stretch on Friday against the Mavs where their wing defense, where they were closing off drives, recovering, was exceptional. They were doing a great job of cutting off driving lanes and contesting corner and above the break threes. Those two together this week, masterclass.
Let me ask you, somebody, I think it was one of the ESPN writers, I could be wrong, I just kind of saw it in passing, listed Mikal Bridges as a sleeper pick for Depoy this year. I don't disagree with that, but even thinking that further, and I'm not trying to sound like a homer here, who's been better? Like, if you're looking at the season so far, who's been better defensively?
He's going to have a hard time winning Depoy because Caruso and Lonzo on the Bulls, I know this is going to sound like a homer pick, are getting a lot of deflections and steals. And I'm not sure if Mikal is getting the numbers along those lines. He's playing really good. He's playing really good defense. I just don't know if
he's averaging
traditional
he's averaging 0.9 steals a game, 0.7 blocks a game.
Well,
so
that's okay. But
all
even
defensive.
So I see that from like a numbers perspective, but I'm just thinking, like, if you're thinking of like who is the best at putting on the clamps in the NBA right now, I think Caruso and Lonzo play well together, and that elevates it. I think DeMar also kind of allows them to play well together. I can't think of like one individual who I'm like, they are a better defender right now individually than Bridges is.
I mean, Gobert is out there and he is still, I'm just saying, like, if you're saying general defense, rim protection is a sexy defensive stat and is going to jump out and has continued to for a long time. If you're saying on ball defense, that's where it gets tougher. That's when you've had like Kawhi has won, right? Depoy, I think, in a similar role. But not, I don't know.
That complicates the discussion. I think I would love to see 2 different defensive players of the year. One just a big, and then one
on ball,
a wing. Yeah. Call him a big and a wing, and I think that would be really helpful because then you look at a guy like Draymond Green, who's the centerpiece of one of the best team defenses in the league right now. He has to be in the discussion too because it is evident when you watch a team like the Warriors, that he's the linchpin on the defensive end. So you have all of these complicated discussions, but yes, Depoy, probably not. All defense, yes, absolutely.
100%.
Right now.
100%.
Yeah. That was something I think I tweeted that out a while ago. Like, there's not a chance he doesn't get something. I mean, I think he probably should have got second team last year. And voting showed it. I mean, he was basically the runner up to make it on that list. But no, I think both of the young wings have continued to show how great they are. And if you consider where they were both drafted, late lottery on both, incredible value. I'll just throw it in as my high. I mean, I love that Cam Johnson is finding his rhythm. I tweeted out, it's going to be hard for him not to start soon enough. It's a weird mix because him and Jay provide a lot of similar things in some aspects on offense. Defensively, I think Cam's continually getting better on the defensive end, way above where I thought he would be. But I don't know, man. Him and Mikal just play so well together. But I think if you're not trying to get too nitpicky on rotation, the Suns are blessed with a very good 6-man rotation right now. Whoever that 6 will be, who cares? But Monty seems to be kind of on a roll in terms of who he's using, when he's using them in that whole situation. And that's actually something I was going to discuss as kind of my backup high. There is a guy named Tom Basine, possibly. Our Twitter account here actually retweeted it earlier, but he, using his genius brain and some Python coding, I believe, which is cool, awesome stuff, determined the net rating by quarter for each team in the league. And there's a couple that are just laughable. For example, the Golden State Warriors in the third quarter have a 30.7 net rating, which is insane. The next closest is actually the Jazz in the fourth quarter at 18.9, and then the Heat in the third with 17.3. You have on the other end some laughably bad ones. I love this so much, such as the Lakers minus 20.3 in the third quarter. Where's the T-Wolves fourth? That one's bad. Minus 13.8. And then the Thunder. They know they're there to tank. Minus 21.4 fourth quarter or first quarter. They want to start really cold, and then they can kind of just have fun letting Josh Giddey do giddy things for the rest of the game. So interesting altogether. But if you look at the Suns, it's very surprising to me, I think. The eye test would make me think that the fourth quarter would be really high. We've just seen them perform so well in the clutch. But if you're looking through quarter by quarter, first quarter, the Suns are actually minus 1.4, which was a little surprising. Looking back through the games, it actually makes sense. Lots of tight games going into the second quarter. In the second quarter, they are a 12.0. That is their biggest quarter by far. And then they followed up with a 6.4 net rating in the third. So they get that lead in the second. They keep building on that in the third. And then in the fourth, they're a 3.9. Which is by no means bad. I mean, but it's interesting. That's their third best quarter of the game. But every time the other team tries to make that surge, what that shows me is that they continue to push that pressure away and take care of business, right? They're not having to outscore the other team by 20 or 15 in the fourth quarter. They've got that lead. They've sustained that lead, and then they take care of business. And I think we've seen that throughout the entire winning streak, right? Anytime a team starts to surge, they kind of pump the brakes on them. We haven't seen a lot of go for the jugular games where they won by like 30 or 40, which I think if you think of like prime Warriors from their just incredible run, you would have games where you check the score and they were up 40 in the third quarter, right? I don't think we're going to see that, but it's just been nothing but consistency, which I think is huge. So anyway, there's a few of the positives from this week in Suns basketball. Going to the lows, leaving our highs behind. I'm going to go ahead and start with my low. Ish Wainwright didn't play every minute possible, right? If you're going to tease me with that behemoth of a man, that upside down triangle, you best give him some minutes. Props to him, though, a journeyman who has moved every which way and has finally made it to a team and seems to be getting some love. I'm thrilled for him. I think you got to look for the small happinesses, but in games where you're up by 27, I wish Monty would unload the bench a little earlier. Give Sticks some minutes. Give these guys some. I mean, he had campaign out there in the fourth, like still running the show with the guys because he's like, I don't quite trust you, Elfrid Payton. So I'm going to make sure I have one supervisor out there at all times. So I don't know. Have some fun. You're up 25. Just let some stuff happen. But again, not much to complain about when things are going good. Ryan, what you got for your low for the week?
My low is actually kind of looking forward. We've had kind of more or less a cakewalk the last 2 weeks when you look at least at record.
Significantly easier schedule.
Yeah, but if you look at the next 2.5 weeks, here's just a few of our opponents. Nets, Warriors again, Celtics, Clippers, Blazers, Wizards who are really good, Hornets who are solid, Lakers, who knows, and then Warriors again by the end of December. So like as easy as the last 2.5 to 3 weeks are is about as challenging as the next 2.5 to 3 weeks are. And I think these coming games really through December are going to tell us a lot more about our team than the last 3 weeks have. So from a low, the high is coming down. We might get a slap of reality here in the next couple of weeks. But I'm optimistic that we'll pull through it with a winning record. But definitely going to be a harder road to hoe over the next 2.5 to 3 weeks or so.
Nice. Philip?
Injuries are sad when it comes to basketball.
Oh,
so this week it was a bummer to not get to watch Luka, especially.
Oh, I thought we were going with Frank Kaminsky's injury, which was just as moving for me.
I buried the lead. I buried the lead. I wasn't going to get there. But it was tough to not see Luka. Watching a guy like Luka is a joy, especially when he's on. Same thing. Sorry, Suns fans, especially you, Ryan, Cameron Payne stands. It's really fun to watch the Joker do his thing as well. MPJ, Jamal Murray. So it's just tough when you don't get to see best on best.
Good basketball. Yep.
But even more for the Suns, they were clicking this week. And if you take that playmaking, especially with the second unit, up another notch with Frank Kaminsky, like this team could be so much fun to watch, especially in those Mikhail and Cam Johnson minutes. If you get a playmaking big in the middle with those guys, with how they were shooting and how they were playmaking this week, is going to be good. It's going to be good.
It's a little disrespectful that you left Dooley off the injury report, but I mean, it's whatever.
Who?
Speaking of reserves, I want to have my reserves corner where I just want to mention last week we talked about 3-point attempts per game, minutes and stuff like that. Just wanted to give a bit of an update. I think it's interesting seeing this change. So Book is still averaging 6.1 a game, hitting 37%, which I ain't mad about. I think if you're in that 37, 38 range for Booker, given his usage, that's great. Cam Johnson is now up to 4.8 a game. Landry Shamet is at 4.5 a game. And what I think is interesting about both of these numbers, in terms of minutes per game, Cam Johnson's at 22 and Landry's at 18. So they're not getting the 32, 33 minutes that some of the other guys are, but when they're out there, they're letting it fly. And I love it. And I'm hoping to see more and more confidence from the two of them to where it's like, hey, I've got this shift, right? I'm clocking in. If I have a tiny smidge of space, I'm letting it fly. Because I think that's where you get value out of both of those guys is by getting them to have some semblance of gravity towards them. And that just is going to open up so much for everyone else. Jay Crowder's got it, man. Talk about a dude that in my mind, early career I didn't think of like, oh yeah, 3-point deadly threat, whatever. But goodness, he catches the ball. He gets it up so quick. The defense collapsed around him. It opens up so much. I'm hoping we see that with the other players. And again, it reminds me of the Warriors or other teams in their prime where it's like, all right, 4 of these dudes can shoot the crap out of the ball, right? You can't try to cheat on anything. And I think that's what the Suns are trying to get to. So just my sham love.
Jake Crowder is also incredibly good at drawing fouls on threes. Like, yeah, I feel like every other.
I'm sorry, was that Jake Crowder? Just making sure.
Yeah, isn't that his name?
Yes. Sorry, go ahead.
Jake Crowder.
Continue.
I'm just anecdotally speaking, I don't have the statistics on this. I feel like he's one of the best in the league at drawing a foul on his 3-point shots. I feel like he gets at least 2 a game where he ends up at the line just because he gets bodied in the corner. And I don't know if there's just a metric for getting fouled on threes, but I'd be curious to see what his is because he's so good at drawing those.
You can find it. I'll bet my house it's not actually to a game. But
I mean,
it sure feels like it is.
He's averaging 1.2 free throws per game. So I think that could answer the question.
Math checks out. Math checks out.
Look, if I looked and it was exactly 6.0 and it's like, maybe, but no, I think we're good.
He got trucked a couple times this week.
Lightweight.
That was the problem.
He's like a magnet for it.
Lightweight, man. He's a lightweight. Yeah. Get in the gym. Right? No? Would that get me killed? Probably.
Are we ready for it?
All right. So now that our highs and our lows are gone,
let's go, baby.
Philip, at times, we witnessed it with Halloween, if you all were listening then. Philip sometimes gets moved by the holiday spirit, and Thanksgiving holiday is no different. So Philip has decided to take over the entirety of the Just So You Know so that we can do something. Ryan and I have no idea what we're doing, but
my just so you know is I didn't actually listen to the Halloween one. So full confession, I don't know what happened.
You didn't listen to your own podcast?
Oops. The sake, man. How did you know what to improve on the next week?
Why on earth are you still here?
I mean, I wasn't on the show, so I didn't have anything to improve on.
Wow. Dedication.
Wait, you're saying you can't improve by watching Ethan and me talk about basketball?
Nope.
Correct.
Wow, that's toxic. Anyways, what's not toxic is this holiday game that we're about to play. So Thanksgiving is coming up, and Ethan's wife's family has this really cool tradition.
No. This is bad.
Where?
It's not a tradition. It happened once, and I felt very uncomfortable. Continue.
Yeah. They do the thing where they go around the table and say what they're thankful for. So I thought we could bring it. We're going to bring it. We're bringing it to the podcast, but we're doing it in a very structured way with three questions. So I'm going to moderate. I'm going to ask you TWO questions, and then spur of the moment, kind of like we did with Halloween candy.
Ryan wouldn't know. Sorry.
You just give me whatever comes to mind. Okay. First question. What are you thankful for that directly pertains to the Phoenix Suns? Ryan, go.
Oh man, that's hard. I am thankful that Chris Paul's injury this offseason did not carry further into the season than I thought it would. I had this really bad feeling that it might have been being played down going into the season, and he has been incredible. So not just being thankful for Chris Paul specifically, but that injury wasn't as bad as I kind of, for whatever reason, had a bad feeling about. And get well soon, Frank Kaminsky.
That was like very narrow. I appreciate the specificity. Ethan, what are you thankful for pertaining to the Suns?
Thankful they don't suck anymore. I
Excellent.
spent a unhealthy amount of hours of my life watching bad Suns basketball, and I am very thankful that I get to watch good Suns basketball now.
Awesome. Okay, now what are you thankful for pertaining to basketball generally?
I'm thankful for League Pass. The idea that you can just hop on to youtubetv.com and watch any basketball game you want when it's on just blows my mind. As somebody who grew up obviously watching TV where you have like maybe 2 basketball games a night, maybe 5 a week, the fact that at any given time, if basketball is on, I can watch it is insanely cool.
Ethan?
This is so bad. I'm really glad that the Warriors are good again. I missed it. I love, as a boy who thought he could shoot every 3-pointer in the world, it makes me happy to watch some dudes chuck up threes with no conscience, drain them, and then have the body of what appears to be a baby that grew into an adult. Like Steph Curry, man, he's a wizard. I'm glad he's good. I'm glad Klay's coming back healthy. I'm glad Draymond is actually playing basketball and not just running his mouth. Like, I feel like we have found some semblance of normal again now that the Warriors are back to where they were.
It's the best version of the Warriors, which is to say it's the 14, 15, 15, 16 version of the Warriors. Okay, last one, and then I'll close this out. What are you thankful for generally? Doesn't have to pertain to basketball. Ryan, first thing that comes to your mind, go.
I am thankful that mom's cancer treatment is almost done. For those of you who are unfamiliar on the podcast, mom has been dealing with that since about a year ago. Last week, she was diagnosed, and hopefully here in January, she will be done and we will be through that, and it'll be just a memory. So I am very thankful for my mom's health and that we are getting to the end.
W's in the chat for Michelle. Ethan, what are you thankful for generally?
Well, Ryan really set me up to fail now, didn't he?
That's what you get for giving him no prep.
Truth.
I'm also happy about my mom's cancer, but
but not as happy as me.
I will say, not a fun tidbit, sad, depressing tidbit. The morning the Chris Paul trade got announced was the same day mom got diagnosed with cancer. So if I ever want to remember what day I got the call that mom had breast cancer, I can Google Chris Paul trade to the Suns, and I will always have those two things connected.
On the bright side, it made that news a lot more bearable.
Goodness. Anyway, I am thankful for just being well taken care of. I got a great wife. I got a new job that I really enjoy. I got a cool office with Star Wars posters and basketball memorabilia. Like, if I could go back and tell 16-year-old Ethan that this is what life would be like 10 years later, I would be pumped. So that's all.
Awesome. Here are my three. Suns edition. Number one, they play a really beautiful style of basketball. I'm a big fan of just how the Suns play. Good ball movement on offense, cohesion on defense. What I'm thankful for, basketball edition. Basketball's the best sport in the world. The fluidity matched with just ferocious athleticism, it's the best. I love basketball so much. Generally, I have good friends, present company included, who share many of my passions. And every week we hop on some microphones, talk about a thing the three of us love, and people listen, which is super dope because it's cool to share passions with people you love. And that's exactly what we get to do here. And listeners, we're very thankful that you join us in that each week.
I'm also very thankful for Brightside. And I'm also thankful for everybody who comments and tells us how they would answer these questions in the comments below.
I'm thankful that Philip's about to be a dad.
True.
That's the best. I'm pumped. I can't wait to rock a baby and be like, you want to listen to my podcast? Put her right to sleep, man. It'll be great. But no, guys, this will be our last video only one for a bit, hopefully, as we will have our first podcast go live on the Brightside Podcast Network on Monday. So be looking for that. If you don't follow us there already, please check it out. But for Philip and Ryan, I am Ethan. This is Into the Valley of Phoenix Suns podcast.
We out. Happy Thanksgiving.